He says a place in Egypt, New York, where they have a Mormon temple with all the archives and gold that they got from the Moors. And that there is a giant statue of a black man with wings holding the tablets that the Moors gave to them to hold until they come back into who they were. Now, I couldn't believe I was hearing this shit from a white boy. I don't even know if I can still believe his ass. But he did say that. Peter Moon.
The scrimmage, run to YouTube to quote Minions' opinions. That stroke your chakras, got you thinking that's wisdom. Knowledge of self means get knowledge yourself. You can tap the cell memory on the DNA shelf. Can teach you how to be overt or stealth. Black Peter is sent a slave, that's where they get the L's. For real, told you I'm serious, I'm not joking. You might see the locks, but don't think that I'm smoking. Not cause hybrids claim Europe means that I'm roping and dunking them in fire and brimstone with lava molten. I quicker toss a rapper in the flaming pit and toss a sellout and a trader in the same pit. Rap and be a singers get tossed in two. So with all the Indians that aren't native Hindu, I rap Hannibal, not the cracker like Manson. The first black prez is a Morgo, ask 'em. All these so-called players up in the rap game got brothers on the corner still with cocaine. All these so-called players up in the rap game got youth man trying to be them losing his brain. All these so-called players up in the rap game. What you'll find, mental shackles is why they got you confined. From the reservoir of intellect, I'll set you like fine. Young men are glue and stay sticking the crime. As I walk down the dusty road, Jackson and Bob Marley. Ask a rapper to solve your problems, he'll help hardly. But he's on cribs with two Benzes and a souped up Audi. On this mental walk, watch your step. In these depths, you see the higher self fighting the flesh. Split personalities caught in thought mesh. Hit a mental block, I told you watch your step. On this mental walk, watch your step. In these depths, you see the higher self fighting the flesh. Split personalities caught in thought mesh. Hit a mental block, I told you watch your step. Shoe boxes to the ceiling, supporting this demon. No shoes, but lots of fiat, crooked cops are stealing. What you should have gave to the poor to pay some dues. And some bills from community moms with ill life blues. Got rookie cops and sergeants touring the world. And you locked up looks bad on your baby girl. And your baby boys think it's a game with guns for toys. Fake fathers turn their backs on their bundles of joy. At risk, marginalized and troublesome. For moms while pregnant sipping on a double rum. Acting like a witch on a broom. Stacks, too lazy to work, will sell your soul to make it in rap. Our blood royally Lewis, not Jewish. Most blacks are Stacey Dash in that movie Clueless. I'm being modest, weak attributes make you a moodist. When I'm honest, most walk off and say screw this. Our blood royally Lewis, not Jewish. Most blacks are Stacey Dash in that movie Clueless. I'm being modest, weak attributes make you a moodist. When I'm honest, most walk off and say screw this. Today, not tomorrow, bro, take it in steps. Learn and grow, in a standing, all concepts. Overstand, stop taking things out of context. Understand, government corps got the real bomb threats. I'm not a modern Arab, smoking hashish salad. Listen to me, let them know. What up, brother Hanif? Use the mic to let them know. This is like Jurassic. They got your birthright. Knowledge is light. They calling you black and you're calling them white. Your name's Mikael and they calling you Mike. Earth shadow is the darkness, they calling it night. Sodom and Gomorrites are called gays and dykes. False education appears real, they calling it fright. Chic on this beat, you're calling it tight. Effects from the roach blunt, calling it heights. With a razor blade on my line, I'm cutting your kites. Rapping blood clot dummies, worry about scuffing the nights. Feminized in tight shirts, showing muscles and ice. Might seem cool, cause I'm in the fast lane. But when they owe you money, you wanna blast the brain. Eyes up, they used to say, don't watch my kicks or my Chardonnay. Stop skipping class and acting a fool. Help mom shoot some hoops or play some pool. Eyes up, they used to say, don't watch my kicks or my Chardonnay. Stop skipping class, I'm acting a fool. Get in this strife like man, you really a fool. Peace said, you wanna know about these streets? First thing you have to do is get some heat. Things changed when I was young like you. Butterfly knives and fists in parks after school. Rules and codes, no heads with holes. Most you get is a sore lip or a busted nose. That's 1990, but now they getting grimy. Friends are enemies, that's not pigs behind me. In the club, with my eyes shiny. I rap like I'm smuggling drugs, it's not about that. My guns are books, they're giving me looks. On the train reading, seeing but not believing. Ancient bloodline resurrecting front the face of heathens. Still indie, I rap like cloth indigo. Medallions and medals, Nazi locks and kingly rolls are stuffed in knitted tams. Peace to the gods, legend. To the fam that passed, we miss you brethren. And the sisters fall into forms of violence. We will speak for you too and won't be silent. Seeing some get a little knowledge, think they know it all. Our crazy mental open stargates and temporal wars. Manchurian candidates shoot elders opening doors. Mind control to reject. Deprograms from Moors, priestess. Remain humble, I know the weakest will inherit the earth. Hear me out, chic and chicess. When we talk, we bless. When we dress, Drew Ali and Garvey badges on my chest. In the honor of Lynch Moores, catch an alpha hex. You had your turn to flex, but Iron Sheik is next. When we talk, we bless. When we dress, Drew Ali and Garvey badges on. The citizens of all free governments claim a constitution in their free national name. Those who fail to recognize this national name are classed as undesirable, subject to names, inferior and abuses with mistreatments. Citizens care to bestow on them in sequence. You sin when you violate the constitution, clinging to names of slavery like Winfrey and Houston. That's why prophet was sent, for us to repent and go back to the ways of minds back in the days, using the religion from the mental prison. Connect back to the Moorish movement was the mission. It's still the mission, but some are dissing. Rights for granted, privileges the current position. If you think his principles are not for redemption, go to the government officials and mention. In a tone intelligent, they would render replies to test the sight in darkness, not with the both eyes. The wealth of all nations is gold and silver. Standards make the man, not the money they give you. Commerce without citizenship by name means you have no true wealth, is what I'm saying. Enforce the Constitution, help with the mission to get back to the constitutional full position. Divine wanted by the prophet for nations. Nations is plural cause everyone needs saving. Divine wanted by the prophet for nations. Nations is plural cause everyone needs saving. Divine wanted by the prophet for nations. Nations is plural cause everyone needs saving. Divine wanted by the prophet.
So just shares a little bit of this history with us. Peace, everybody. Peace. Hotel to all my Canaanlanders. Blessed love to all my rascals. Assalamu alaikum. Islam. And Islam to all the Moors. What we wanted to do, and what's up to everybody else. If you don't belong to any denomination or group or anything like that. We've been given honors to Marcus Garvey all day, and it's good for us to do what Marcus Garvey says and canonize our saints, since he's recognized as such to us. During the time of Marcus Garvey's plight going against the U.S. corporation, right? Identified as a government, but it's not really a government. It's actually a foreign European colonizing force that goes around the world, tormenting, pillaging land that that's not theirs. They took the position that they're going to make Marcus Garvey out to be a criminal, right? They're going to use mail fraud, things like that, to try to get the people's faith away from what Marcus Garvey was really teaching our people. And what Marcus Garvey was teaching our people was that we have to gravitate toward nationhood.
Islam. So we're just going to go to our Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by Noble Drew Ali. The end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner that was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. That's Noble Drew Ali. Letting us know that Marcus Garvey was the forerunner. Marcus Garvey was the one that cleared the path. People have no excuses that they're going to trip over stuff. Cleared the path. Brought everybody to nationhood, and everybody was down with it. Everybody was down with us having our own whatever. Everybody was down with it. Everybody was game. 1920s. They're coming out of slavery and all that stuff, and you want to be somebody. All right? Let's be somebody. My organization is going to do that. Prep these people so they can recognize their prophet when he presents himself. Right? Now, people are going to do their thing with Garvey, and he wasn't a more... Why are you saying Allah with Marcus Garvey and all this type of stuff? But we'll just go to Anur Majid, We Are All Moors, page 78. Islam was everywhere in the black nationalist movement. The Jamaican-born Marcus Garvey, jailed and deported from the United States in 1927 for mail fraud, a convert to Catholicism and founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, was influenced by Deuce Muhammad Ali, the Sudanese-Egyptian author of In the Land of the Pharaohs, which made the case for Islam as a basis for self-government in the 19th century Egypt. Garvey's followers, particularly writers of the Negro world, and Garvey himself, made analogies between the struggles of Muslims in Africa against European colonist powers and their own struggle for equality in the United States, as well as between Garvey's mission and that of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. At one point, Garvey compared his work to that of his followers to the Prophet. Quote, "As Muhammad did in the religious world," he said, "so in the political arena, we have had men who have paid the price for leading the people toward the great light of liberty." In 1923, the Garveyite columnist of the Negro World gave a speech in Boston titled "Islam and the Redemption of Africa." The Garveyites and the black guys won't tell you all that stuff.
Marcus Garvey also said that we have to canonize our saints, meaning that the people who we honor and respect and show appreciation to, we have to honor and respect them for ourselves. Forget what other people think about what we're doing. We have to do it for ourselves. All the different organizations and groups that are representative here today is an example of what has to be done as far as our community is concerned. The most important thing that we need right now is unity amongst our people. The unity amongst our people is going to manifest when we all realize our potential in setting this thing right that's gone haywire. As we honor the greatness of Marcus Garvey, we also want to look at aspects of inspiration that was around him at the time of him doing his great missionary work of waking up our people. There's a book that Brother Moshe Carey has in the back called Deuce Muhammad Ali, the autobiography of a pioneer, Pan-African, and Afro-Asian activist. Page 19. With the help of his old friend John E. Bruce, Deuce was able to earn a living as a lecturer and also by writing articles for the Negro press. Later, he was appointed as Foreign Affairs Specialist for Garvey's Negro World, for which he also reviewed books and plays. Deuce also served for a while as the Foreign Secretary to the United Negro Improvement Association and accepted a position with the UNIA as head of African Affairs. Now, we don't have to speculate about Deuce Muhammad Ali, because when we check Deuce Muhammad Ali, we realize that he was very clear about his culture and who he was. Deuce Muhammad Ali was affectionately called Bey Effendi in Europe. Europeans knew this individual by a title called Bey, which is relative to the Moors. Because everybody in the world knows that we're not Negro, black, colored people, we're not African, that we're Moors. The world knows this. We're the only people that seem to, don't get who we are and want to be everything that we're not. Bruce Muhammad Ali is a Sudanese Moor. That's what he's identified as when you research him. They don't call him a black man. They don't call him African. They recognize him based on his national origin. He's from the Sudan. And he was recognized as a Moor. And anytime you look up Bruce Muhammad Ali, the only picture that you get is this one. There are no other pictures of him in existence. The only picture that they have of Bruce Muhammad Ali is the picture of him wearing his national headdress, the fez, which didn't come from Masons, it didn't come from Turks. This is our ancient culture. Now, when we consider that this individual was working directly with Marcus Garvey, the fact that he was working directly with Marcus Garvey and there was no argument between them or anything like that, the only argument that came was when the infiltration came. And people were trying to say that he was trying to take over the UNIA. And it's all in the same book. When Marcus Garvey made the statement about coming here and meeting, all these so-called black scholars and, working with them and doing all these things with people who he honored, he learned about them through Bruce Muhammad Ali. Because he was writing for Bruce Muhammad Ali's paper, the African Times and Orient Review, that sister brought up earlier. So he was directly influenced by Moors. This is not speculation, this is not assumption. If we support our own, go back there, right? Go back there, go buy the book, and then when he sells out of the book, we're going to make him order more, and then we're going to go buy those ones out. Because we have to know and we have to accept the fact that the influence of Moors in the life, in the legacy of Marcus Garvey is what made him what he is, why we honor him. It might be a lot to digest, because you never considered this man. You never considered this individual as representative, because you see this and you think that this only has to do with Masons, so then you disregard anything having to do with this. Now, there's a picture that everybody knows of Marcus Garvey at the UNIA convention when the Garveyites say that Marcus Garvey was wearing, quote unquote, his uniform. And then so-called fake scholars who we're not going to name that, but that dishonor him, W. Du Bois and all these people. They try to say that he stole Napoleon stuff. He's dressing like a European. But the reason why he's dressed like this is because he's honoring his ancient forerunners and forefathers, the Moors. Because this is actually an admiral outfit or uniform. The European term admiral comes from the Arabic term amir, which are Moors. Not Africans, not black guys with ships or whatever, Moors. Because everybody knows that the Moors were the ones who had the boats, because they got all that information from Kemet when Kemet fell. Because the Moors were high priests of Kemet. Documented fact, go check. So here is the Honorable Marcus Garvey, dressed like a Moor. So what happened? What happened? We know all this.
You got the parade and all that stuff. Streets filled with Asiatics. Looking like we're really about something. What happened? Philosophies and Opinions, page 293. 8 Negroes write letter to Attorney General and white press misrepresenting Garvey and the movement. You worried about some Europeans saying they're bay? And we're talking about the real ones, which is only one European that I know that really doesn't play around. All the other Europeans saying is playing around. But there's 8 Negroes though who kickstarted the downfall of the one who these guys honor, Marcus Garvey. But they would never call out these sellouts because everybody wants to play buddy, brother, sister BS with traitors. Remember, this is Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, compiled by Amy Jacques Garvey. So don't get mad at Moors. How about go read people's stuff who you say you honor? Eight Negroes versus Marcus Garvey in defense of self. Then trust me, you know, opinions are no proof of truth and all that stuff. Let's just say philosophies of Marcus Garvey. These are not opinions. If you read. Eight Negroes versus Marcus Garvey. I have to bring to your attention the greatest bit of treachery and wickedness that any group of Negroes could be capable of. This thing is so shocking, so vicious and murderous as to make it impossible for any self-respecting person to imagine that anyone other than a culprit of the meanest kind could be responsible for its authorship. Worried about some Europeans. You have these dirty Moors out here going crazy. $5,000 for some papers. Moors are men, upright, independent and fearless. Oh yeah, this is caveat emptor, Moorish literature. Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is neither uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such a realm. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits. Keep in mind, this is 1929, so this is after Garvey. So the same culprits, the same people on our side of the nation that thought that this was a joke and unreal and made up some BS to go snitch to these Europeans, just like Moors doing today. Oh yeah, those guys, those Moors over there, or those Moors over there are sovereign citizens because they say that they're not part of the United States and they don't recognize you. These same smelly culprits. Even Garvey was dealing with them. Praise Allah for the mother that said, no, I'm going to put everything out. You and I, she didn't do what certain people did with Noble Drew Ali stuff, sell it to the other side and stuff like that. She put everything out in the public. Said, forget it, we'll put out everything. Forget all you people. Let his story be told in defense of self. You tell me that they weren't getting rid of traitors? All the traitors. When Prophet and Garvey and Deuce and all the Moors are around, you think these people are trying any BS? Because they already knew that they couldn't penetrate. Impregnable doctrine of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You cannot penetrate this. Truth guides this. And truth is odd and odd is Allah, so stop playing. Still around today, taking pictures, posing, because they did something for the community. That there's somebody right now, there's a youth man, Asiatic right now, about to put his spoon in the cereal, and there's a roach in there, swimming in his cereal. And he's actually going to pick the roach out and eat the cereal. And these people are taking pictures. They go into City Hall to go get plaques and stuff like that. But letting Europeans trademark Bay, everything is good. That's all right. But little John that got the roach falling off the ceiling while he's sleeping and stuff like that, nah, don't worry about him. Just get my good side. Make sure you get my good side, and they put the flash on. Let my bleachkin skin show. All the sellouts. Marcus Garvey versus 8 Negroes. Honor among thieves. It is said that there is honor even among thieves, but it is apparent that there is no honor and self-respect among certain Negroes. In that they would resort to the meanest and lowest methods possible, not only to pilfer the pockets of their brothers, but to rob one of his fair name. Same ones that are talking BS. Don't listen to those Moors. They're going to get you locked up. They're going to be, don't follow them. At the same time, they're telling you 300, 500 for some consultation fee for them to tell you something they could have told you just looking at a law dictionary. They're repeating phrases from maxims of law and have you think that they're a scholar or something. And you don't get it? The priesthood is dead. There's just charlatans around here. Everybody trying to pilfer the pockets of their brothers. This is how they do. And we already put them out. We already showed you that that's what's up. We tell you that he's a forerunner. What do you mean? The stuff got laid out. Again, honors to the mother for putting out the book. So we have the proof. That wasn't some Europeans. The people played you. That's some Europeans, the Europeans' problem. No, these traitors, that's the problem. Europeans are going to do what they do. When you going to do what you're supposed to do. Stop worrying about what Europeans do.
It's the Negroes. That's why Drew came and told us that we're not that. That's why those Moors went in on it. Moors went in on some Europeans today. Islam to the Moors. Now don't play the BS. This is birthrights. And based on how he's dressed, I think he was on something. He doesn't look like a Negro. He looks like an improved Negro. If he's an improved Negro, then he's not a Negro. If he's an improved Negro, then he's not Negro. Because if you're improved from being Negro, then you're not that. What's the book? Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Everybody has it on their shelf already. But people don't read, so you don't know what the hell's going on. Played by our own. And then we just let them play us. And you just let them take $5,000 from you for some papers that don't do anything, make you lose your house or some BS. And you're not gonna strangle somebody? You're not gonna if Capital One try to take 2 cents off some whatever, charge you 2 cents for something, you want to take them to court and all that stuff like that, because they're violating you. You're playing around. Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, or Africa for the Africans, compiled by Amy Jacques Garvey. Stealing a man's money is, as Shakespeare says, trash. But to injure a man's reputation, to tarnish his character, is a crime of the lowest kind, which not even ordinary thieves would indulge in, as if you're lower than thieves. No, this is Garvey talking to you. This is Garvey giving you the slaps. From back then. He came today to give you some slaps. Oh, the sellout is real. The sellout is real as life. The sellout is real. To further imagine that a group of colored men could be responsible for writing to the Attorney General of the United States of America and to the white people at large in endeavoring to prejudice them against fellow Negroes whose only crime has been that of making an effort to improve the condition of the race is beyond the conception of the most fertile imagination. Maybe Garvey wasn't studying or something like that. He was just sitting around picking and marching or something like that. Let's go again. Let's get that one again. To further imagine that a group of colored men, group of fake men, could be responsible for writing to the Attorney General of the United States of America and to the white people at large in endeavoring to prejudice them against fellow Negroes whose only crime has been that of making an effort to improve the condition of the race is beyond the conception of the most fertile imagination. Right? Like it's beyond the conception of people really paid $5,000 for, forget the guy who charged $5,000. Somebody really gave up $5,000 for 5 papers or 80 papers or whatever like that, and said that they bought some process in order to get out of some obligation that they have. We're not even dealing with the guy who played somebody. It's not about the people getting played. This is where it is now. Because of not studying. Because of not studying, you get played. When this is about study, this is not about getting out some process. I think Garvey was worried about some process, UCC or something like that. What are you doing that for? You already know that he got it because he was Garvey. You know Garvey, you're either L or Bay. You're Asiatic. You're a maroon. What do you mean? What's Garvey? What's that? I don't know what that is. But the mindset, the soul, the purpose that husk had, but I was on some other levels. That another husk. Don't do a name on a paper or anything like that. I know how much hands he shook and him went to meet with the KKK and all that stuff is relevant. Just vibrating on that love frequency for his people. Once you do that, you are the Most High. Once you're humanitarian. And 8 Negroes writing letters. Some 8 Negroes writing letters. Trying to clown Garvey. Who's their brother? Nevertheless, the thing has been done by a group of New York Negroes who have written their names down everlastingly as enemies of their own race by maliciously, wickedly, and treacherously endeavoring to so misrepresent their race, which represents the minority group in a majority civilization, as to cause that majority to unwillingly and not of its own accord impose such punishment upon the race as to make it harder for us to survive in the country of our common adoption. Why would they sell out? Why? They're not getting nothing. Or did they get something? Who got their little 50 books out, while all we have is philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey, and that's it from him? Where's all those Negro World newspaper back articles and all that stuff? Yes, because of the unification, there was a plan. Plan? They knew what they were up to.
Marcus Garvey was teaching our people that we have to gravitate towards unity. Marcus Garvey was teaching our people that we have to gravitate towards self-sufficiency. That's why the name of the organization was meant to improve the Negro. We weren't supposed to stay there in that organization. The objective was to improve the Negro, to make the Negro better. Because obviously, based on experience, the status of the Negro is not respected. People calling themselves Negro and black and colored, etc., they're not respected by the world. This is why we have situations like people saying that they came from Africa, but no African nation has came and claimed it publicly, openly. Find me one. We're not talking about individuals. We're talking about nations that said, oh, those guys over there in Toronto that said they came from Ghana, I'm the Ghanaian whatever representative, and we got the boats at the dock. You guys just go down to the dock, get on the boat, and come back home. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Right? Right? Now, and just to put it on the mic, His Imperial Majesty took that position of going to the people in the diaspora and letting them know that, your brothers and sisters with the people over here, right? Now, another individual that isn't talked about with relation to Marcus Garvey is a man by the name of Noble Ali. And Noble Ali was born in North Carolina in 1886. And he's not spoken about because he had the same dreams, aspirations, etc. as Marcus Garvey. And when you do your own research on Noble Ali, you find out that they had a very relative, similar ideal and perspective that they were presenting to the people. And two things that I wanted to read just to put on the record with regard to this connection is a postcard that was sent from Noble Ali to his wife, Pearl Ali, right? And this is in 1927, right before Marcus Garvey got deported, and right before President Calvin Coolidge issued, we would call it, immediate release of Marcus Garvey, right? So the postcard reads as follows. Dear wife, I have been to see Mr. Garvey at the federal prison. I will be home Friday or Saturday. Love to all from your husband, Noble Ali. And we have this postcard. It's on the table in the back. If you want to get a copy of it, you can speak to Brother Camry, and he'll give you a copy of this. All right? There was a newspaper in Chicago called the Chicago Defender. And Chicago Defender was founded by a brother. And the brother's purpose of having the paper was to give our people, just like Marcus Garvey having the paper, Noble Ali having the paper, Nation of Islam having the paper, getting our story told by us, not told by some foreigner that is assuming things about us, right? In the newspaper, and again, this is documented, and the reason that we're bringing this up is because whenever you mention Marcus Garvey, you should be mentioning Noble Ali, because they were relative. Because Noble Ali also had 1 million members in the Moorish movement during the time of Marcus Garvey. He also had millions of members, right? And the reason that these two individuals are ridiculed and thrown under the bus by some of their own people, as well as, colonizers and usurpers and everybody else, is because they were bringing our people back to legitimate, concrete identification of ourselves that's recognized worldwide. Everybody knows that we're Africans, according to Marcus Garvey, right? That's our descendancy. From a historical perspective, the word or the name of our people being called African is synonymous and used relative with Moors in history. Not our personal opinion, but if we go to UFT, professors of history or whatever, if we go to Cambridge University, Guelph or whatever like that, all those Europeans who pretend that they hate black people and call people nigger and stuff like that, they're studying our culture. So they can't hate us that much if they're studying our stuff. And they can't hate us that much if they're studying our stuff and using our stuff against us because we don't want to use it for ourselves. It actually shows that they honor our stuff, and we need to do a little bit honoring of our own stuff instead of honoring other people's stuff all the time. Right?
Again, considering the letter. Let us consider the above letter as written by these wicked Negroes and sent to the Attorney General of the United States of America and to the white press of the nation. In the first paragraph of the above communication, the writers, being Negroes, made use of the following statement speaking to the Attorney General. They say, "As Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the nation, we wish to call to your attention to a heretofore unconsidered menace to harmonious race relationship. There are in our midst certain Negro criminals and potential murderers, both foreign and American born, who are moved and actuated by intense hatred against the white race. These undesirables continually proclaim that all white people are enemies of the Negroes." Good old darkies. To imagine that any group of Negroes could be so base as to attempt to impress upon not only the Attorney General of the United States of America, but the white people at large, that members of their own race, although this is untrue, are desirous of murdering members of the white race and of maintaining a hatred against them, knowing well the position of the Negro in America and his relationship to his white brother, is more than one would expect at this time in the struggle for race uplift. Everyone knows that the statement is false and only manufactured by these wicked and malicious individuals for the purpose of directing the hatred of the Attorney General and white people in America against the Universal Negro Improvement Association and Marcus Garvey. Nevertheless, the statement reveals in these Negro men the lowest possible trait. Like the good old darky, they believe they have some news to tell, and they are telling it for all it is worth. The liars and fabricators that they are. For everyone who knows the Universal Negro Improvement Association and Marcus Garvey, white or black, knows well that there is absolutely no desire on their part to murder anybody, and that as far as criminals are concerned, more are to be found probably among those who signed the letter than could be found in the extensive membership of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. In paragraph 2, they stated that the President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association is Marcus Garvey, an unscrupulous demagogue who has ceaselessly and assiduously sought to spread among Negroes distrust and hate among the white people. About being unscrupulous and demagogue, we need pay no attention, because the very villains who wrote such a letter are better able to interpret unscrupulous and demagogy than anyone else, in that they seem to know more about it. But when it comes to the point of Marcus Garvey assiduously seeking to spread among Negroes distrust and hatred for all white people, it is time for the white and black races to realize the truth about the Universal Negro Improvement Association and its president. At no time has the president of the Universal Negro Improvement Association preached hatred for the white people. That in itself is a violation of the Constitution of the organization, which teaches all its members to love and respect the rights of all races, believing that by doing so, others will in turn love and respect our rights. Think he's not moving toward what we're supposed to be going to? Think he wasn't directly in line with what Noble Drew Ali was going to be doing in the future? He is the forerunner. He was paving the way. He was paving the way. That in itself is a violation of the Constitution of the organization, which teaches all its members to love and respect the rights of all races, believing that by doing so, others will in turn love and respect our rights. If you're Negro, you don't have rights. So he was paving the way, using the right language. United States of America, not United States. He knew what he was talking about. He had to have been studying. And why wouldn't he be studying? Some of the teachers was Deuce Muhammad Ali and Edward Bruce and them people. In paragraph 3, they try to make out that the Negro world sedulously and continually seeks to arouse ill feeling between the races. Yet in the same breath, they further try to make out that there is an alliance between Garvey and the Ku Klux Klan. If these men were in the possession of their senses and were actuated by truth rather than by desire to do harm and injury, they would have realized that the Ku Klux Klan is a white organization and stands for white supremacy, so that Garvey would be illogical and foolish if on one hand that he preached ill feelings and hatred between the two races and then went back upon this and allied himself with the Ku Klux Klan. Wicked maligners. These wicked maligners have the protests of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association for over 100 times are still endeavoring to make it appear as if there is some understanding between the president of this organization and the Ku Klux Klan. In paragraph 5, they further state that the Universal Negro Improvement Association is composed chiefly and most primitive and ignorant element of West Indian and American Negroes. Now we come to the crux of the matter. These fellows represent a small group of men led by Du Bois, who believe that the race problem is to be solved by assimilation, and that the best program for the Negro is to make himself the best imitation of the white man and approach him as near as possible with the hope of jumping over the fence into the white race and being completely lost in another 100 years. Therefore, they hate anything Negro, and they haven't sense enough to hide it. Now, what do they mean by most primitive and ignorant element of the West Indian and American Negroes? We will remember that in the slave days of Negroes, the Negroes of America and the West Indies were taken from Africa, and that they then represented their tribal primitiveness. The emancipation both in America and the West Indies has brought us up to the present state, with the majority of our people still bearing the resemblance of this tribal primitiveness, whilst a few have endeavored to make themselves Caucasianized. These men regard it as a crime to be as nature made us, and for us to be as nature made us is to be ignorant. This shows how much love these would-be Negroes have for the motherhood of our race. The paragraph stating that the respectable element identified with the movement are largely professional men without calling, and that the organization is composed of Negro sharks and ignorant Negro fanatics, again reveal to us the prejudice of these so-called business and professional scoundrels, in that they endeavor to make it appear that only professional men are respectable, and that the organization has no white sharks or ignorant fanatics in it. Were it not for the ignorant element of Negroes, these very fellows would have starved long ago, because all of them earned their living either by selling out the race under the guise of leadership or by exploiting the race in business. Were it not for the ignorant element of Negroes, these very fellows would have starved long ago, because all of them earned their living either by selling out the race under the guise of leadership or by exploiting the race in business. We only hope that the so-called ignorant Negroes of America will get to know these fellows as they are, and let them pay the price through their pocketbooks for insulting so large a number of people who are proud of their race and color. They went hard on them. They went hard on them. Let's just catch a listen of some.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black and the green around me, for in the new life I shall rise up with God's strength and blessing to lead the millions up the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a whirlwind or a storm, look for me all around you, for with God's grace I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have inspired through the colleges, the universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards. You race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you have better die.
What Drawley say? What you want me to do? Kill you? You still playing around? What you want me to do? You really want me to kill you? That's what you want? Right? Death stare. You know, smiling thing. Each August, we celebrate Marcus Garvey's birthday. We should revisit his contributions and study the works of this great African hero. Marcus Garvey left a rich historical legacy for us to study and utilize in our continued quest for independence and liberation as a people. Marcus Garvey was born August 17, 1887, in St. Ann's Bay. St. Ann's Bay? He's born in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica, to Marcus and Sarah Garvey. Marcus Sr., his father, was a descendant of the Maroons. What about Sarah? No, Sarah wasn't European. The Maroons were Africans who managed to escape slavery when they reached western shores by jumping from slave ships or by fleeing slave plantations and establishing... Okay, well, that's what they say. But then I was doing some research, and then there was something called From Moors to Marinage, the Islamic heritage of Maroons in Jamaica. Like, oh, this is interesting. It's interesting that Marcus Garvey knew about all these Islamic people and Hebraic people and all that stuff, had them be part of his organization. I wonder if that has anything to do with where he was grown up at. Maybe even compare himself to Prophet Muhammad. Maybe he heard about that before. Maybe he didn't really convert to Catholicism, or maybe that was some Inquisition stuff to make people think that there's some Christian stuff, because, you know, Christianity is what's going on right now. So yeah, Christian stuff, but all the hymns in the UNIA and stuff like that were talking about Allah, and he was a Catholic. Something's going on here. So you do a little research, you know, Journal of the Muslim Minority Affairs, volume 19. So who knows what the hell they had volume 18 going back to 1. They're going like, if they're going like this, they didn't even hide anything. They said up front, from Moors to marriage. So they know about these Maroons who Marcus Garvey's family is connected to. Yes. I don't know. Moors and Maroons. Moors and Maroons. Okay. The word Moor, coming from Latin, mori, and Greek, moros, is applied to the community or nationality. So if they know that it's a nationality, then there's not a description and any of that stuff there that people like to play around when they like to talk about Moors, but they don't give you any reference points. They're talking from wherever they're pulling this information from. So Moor is tied to nationality. The origin of Moors, no matter where they come from, Spain, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, or Mauritania, never extends beyond the boundaries of Africa. Well, that's hard to believe if over here is called Maghreb Al-Aqsa, and everybody in Spain, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and Mauritania know that, then obviously Moor extends beyond the boundaries of Africa. But then again, you know, they can be talking from scholarly perspective that they know Africa's over here and Africa's over there. Hence, a Moor being an African is a Negro or a black person. So they're not going to call themselves Negro, but they're calling themselves African. Okay, well, so that means you're a Moor if you're African, according to our friends here at the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs. Sultana Afros, you can just write her name down, his name down, whoever that is right there. Go write them down and go debate them. It's very interesting about connection to Maroons and Mariners and Moors in the West Indies. Let us say Africans in the West Indies. Let us say slaves in the West Indies. Why do you say Moors? Or maybe because they know that everybody who looks like Asiatic black man is a Moor. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're coming from a worldly perspective, not a club group box perspective, which is why the journal could present this. So scholarly. And again, if anybody has any issues, you can go talk to Who wrote it? Don't say anything about Moors. Don't come at Moors about anything. I'm not even trying to hear it. Moors in Jamaica. No, not black guys. Not Jamaicans in Jamaica. No. How come not? How come not Jamaicans in Jamaica? How come? That's what should be. If they're Jamaicans, then this should say Jamaicans in Jamaica. Oh yeah, and then when you go look up Jamaica, it tells you it means rum. Now why does Jamaica mean rum? Not place and all that stuff. Rum. Moors in Jamaica. Although the immediate response of the Negroes in Jamaica is imprecise, slave revolts and resistance across the Caribbean would suggest that the scenario was no different in this land of plenty wood and water. For the Spanish Negro fugitives, the topography and ecology of Jamaica were also conducive for their hideouts and establishments. Since the prohibition of 1521 applied to all the new territories of Spain, it is likely that Spanish maroon communities had already been established in Jamaica by 1523, when the first set of African slaves purchased from the Portuguese arrived in the island. The presence of 107 free blacks, substantiated by the census of the island taken by the Spaniards in 1611, further strengthens the argument that the Moorish or free Negro communities, referred to as maroon communities, were in existence long before the British occupation of Jamaica in 1655. We're not Moors though. Portmore and Westmoreland and Anne's Bay and all that, but you're not Moors though. You're just Jamaicans. Don't get mad at Moors, go talk to Sultana. Go talk to the Journal. They have a problem with it. Don't say Moors did anything. We're just here. We're just looking at ourselves in the story about Jamaicans. Like, hey, hold on a second. So they're not no such thing as Jamaicans? Those maroon communities were communities of Moors. Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Matter of fact, if they were there before the British occupation of Jamaica in 16, then the treaty with Maroons and all that stuff is a fiction, because Maroon is obviously not the people, just like Hebrew is not the people. Interesting. And remember that all this has to do with Marcus Garvey, Forerunner. The Forerunner, Marcus Garvey.
Can we do it? We can do it. We shall do it. We pray to God for vision and for leadership. And He has given us our universal vision. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to America. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to the West Indies, but a vision that said there must be a free and redeemed Africa. Christ the crucified, Christ the despised. We appeal to you for help, for succor, for leadership. When you endeavor to carry your burden of the heights of Calvary, when white men scorned you, When white men scorned you, when white men spat upon you, when white men pierced your side out of which blood and water gushed forth, it was a black man in the name of Simon the Syrian who took your cross and bore it up the heights of Calvary. And now that we are bearing our burden, it means...
Now, keep in mind, Simon Zamora. Simon, who went to carry the cross? Yeah, no, Simon Zamora. Not a black guy, not African, none of that stuff. Simon the Moor. Yeah, just look him up. He always comes up just like that. Simon the Moor. Huh? How come he never told us Simon was a Moor like that? No wonder he could have bore the cross for the Christ. He's a European, by the way. Because remember, that's the point that he's making, that, you know, the European was a quote-unquote African, came and bore the cross for him. That's Christ's cross. Who's this African that's going to bear the cross for this? The guy who's son of God, another guy is going to bear the cross? Because he knows the power of Simon. He knows who Simon is. He studied under Deuce Muhammad Ali. Why wouldn't he know who Simon is, to use that as a reference for these Christianized people who don't know about what's to happen yet? They think they know what's going on, but they don't really know what's going on. They didn't really know what's going on. They were missing it. Because, remember, that he told them page 241, application for pardon, United States Federal Prison, Atlanta, Georgia, June 1925. Page 241, application for pardon, philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey. Page 257. The fact that millions of Negroes still believe in and follow me is proof that those interested in my work and on whose account I was supposed to be indicted, convicted, and imprisoned do not believe that I have defrauded them and have more confidence in me than the prosecutor and those allied with him to injure me. The prosecutor's reference to such a large number of people as being ignorant is a gross reflection against the race and an illogical assumption, for in experience, if the world has found it so hard to lead intelligence, how much more difficult would it not be to lead large numbers of ignorant people, and to have those people believe in a single leadership when around him is organized all the power and authority of the destruction to discredit him, and court failure for all his efforts in which the said people have invested their money, and with the individual arrested by the law, convicted and imprisoned? That after I secured my first paper for naturalization and the information became known, my political enemies hurried up and forced my indictment, so as to prevent me from acquiring the full rights of citizenship, to further lend force to my leadership, which they feared for selfish personal reasons, and that my trial and conviction was made returnable just immediately prior to the time when I would have become eligible for the full rights of citizenship. So they got him. Because remember, citizenship manual, if foreigner can't prove citizenship, they're ipso jure Moorish subjects. But Moorish subject lost their nationality by being naturalized. 1920s, What papers? Because you're over here. Papers used to get over here. That you need to be here and then get papers from them. And remember, this is the breakdown. We wouldn't get this info from some book out there. That after I secured my first paper of naturalization and the information became known, the political enemies hurried up and forced the indictment. The same color of law that they're doing with people today, trying to put them under jurisdictions of you need to naturalize to be a Moor. But in order to have citizenship, you naturalize. Yeah, but you're Aboriginal and indigenous to the land. Why would you naturalize if you're in your own land? That admits the jurisdiction. There it is right there, letting you know. Garvey telling you. Garvey letting you know that when you naturalize, you admit the jurisdiction. That's why they hurried up and forced the indictment. Because all they had to do was have the paper that says they could stamp it later. They have a signature that you naturalized. You trying to get citizenship? And talk all this United States of America, but then Article 13, 20 sections is going to tell you about Africans can't be citizens and all that stuff, and then you're saying you're African slaves, so this is why Noble Drew Ali came. Right time. Went to the prison, nationalized him. He sent the letters, right, after he got nationalized by Noble Drew Ali. Remember that from the start, he was in direct contact with Deuce Muhammad Ali, who was a fez-wearing Moor. They don't have nothing. They don't have anything with him other than a fez picture. So he knew what was up. Now page 268. Because the Negro is not happy and will never be until he is restored to his own nationality. And my ability to continue my work in this behalf will bless the nation. For as Thomas Paine said, no man can be happy surrounded by those whose happiness he has destroyed. How do you destroy your happiness? Telling you that you're Negro all the time. And it wasn't until that he got sent to the crypt and he realized that Negro is how they got jurisdiction. Because he's supposed to be the Mr. Universal Negro Improvement Association guy, but you have Negroes trying to take you out. No different than certain people took out other certain people. The Negro is not happy and will never be until he is restored to his own nationality. Now, Marcus Garvey is of the Maroons, Aboriginal indigenous people. The Maroons, Again, just go check the stuff. Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs. They let you know. They let you know. Telling you the connection to Islam and Jamaica. So you can know that this is not some other stuff you're picking up from somebody, some pale Arab, whatever. Right? They go in. Ain't no long thing. And they give some good references too. So you can't fact check everything that's said. If you think that to honor Marcus Garvey, you're not honoring the Moors, you're tripping. Anytime you mention his name, you're talking about Moors. One, because he's descendant of Maroons, and two, because he's the forerunner. That because you don't study Noble Drew Ali, you don't even know that Marcus Garvey is a forerunner. And you run around raving red, black, green. Didn't you hear Garvey say, "Bury me in that"? If you bury him in that, then what are you talking about? He got buried in the flag. What do you mean you have a flag still you're waving around? Don't you understand? Because the Negro is not happy and will never be until he is restored to his own nationality, means declare your nationality, you're a Moor. Maroons are Moors. Everybody else is Moors. Stop playing around and let's do this. If you're going to do something. But they like to play. It's all right, though. Exactly. Status is everything. Only then will you be restored to your own nationality. Only then. And watch out for the sellouts. They did them dirty. They did them dirty. Dirty, dirty. And again, like Moore said, status is everything. Because they even told you in the case, United States of America versus Marcus Garvey, defendant in error and plaintiff in error. The defendant and plaintiff are in error. What do you mean there's a case? What do you mean there's a trial? What do you mean jury and all that stuff? What are you talking about? They played with the people so much that Prophet came left, these people don't even know what the hell happened. All they know is they're Negro, black, colored. Nothing else. That's all. W.E. Burghardt Du Bois, as a hater of dark people, calls his own race black and ugly, judging from the white man's standard of beauty. Trick of National Association for the Advancement of Colored People to solve problem by assimilation and color distinction. In describing Marcus Garvey in the article before mentioned, he referred to him as a little fat black man, ugly, but with intelligent eyes and a big head. Now, what does the boy mean by ugly? This so-called professor of Harvard and Berlin ought to know by now that the standard of beauty within a race is not arrived at by the comparison with another race. As for instance, if we were to desire to find out the standard of beauty among the Japanese people, we would not judge them from the Anglo-Saxon viewpoint, but from the Japanese. No, not from the yellow viewpoint. Or just playing the same game back then. We were black, but then everybody else has nationality. See what he realized? You see why he said, you're only going to be happy if you have a nationality? Restored to your own nationality? He started realizing what was up. Started realizing. And he was writing all these letters to try to get you to know. He was sending out all these stuff to you, just so you could know. And praise Allah for Amy Jack Garvey that published everything. All the letters from prison, the whole case where they set him up, everything. Just so the people can have it. Because he's their forerunner. And they did a number on him, but you know, like Juali said, we're jumping around because we got them today. We caught you in the whirlwind and we know what's going on. And we give supreme thanks. We give supreme thanks for the Forerunner for doing the work that he did. Let's listen to some more of him.
So heavy, we just ask that you just help us all up the heights. Oh yes, the cause is grand, the cause is glory. Surely we shall not turn back. Oh, sail on, sail on, sail on, almighty ship of state, sail on until the flag of the red, the black, and the green is perched upon the hills of their Africa. Because the time has come for the black man to forget his hero worship of other races and to create and emulate heroes of his own. We must canonize our own saints, create our own martyrs, and elevate the positions of fame and honor black men and women who have made a distinct contribution to our racial history. Sojourner Truth is worthy of a place of sainthood alongside the Joan of Arc. Crispus Attucks and George William Gordon are entitled to the halo of martyrdom with no less glory than the martyrs of any other race. Toussaint Louverture's brilliancy as a soldier or a statesman outshone that of any other people, hence he's entitled to the highest place as a hero among men. Because Africa's created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace, whose luster and bravery outshone that of any other people. So why not see good and perfection in ourselves? We must inspire our literature and promulgate the doctrine of our own without any apologies to the powers that be. That's right, it's ours and God. Let sentiments and cross opinions go to the winds. We are entitled to our own opinion and are not obligated to or bound by the opinions of others. If others laugh at you, return the laughter to them. If they mimic you, return the compliment with equal force. Because they have no more right to dishonor, discredit you in manhood than you have in dealing with them. Honor them when they honor you. Disrespect and disregard them when they vilely treat you. Their arrogance is but skin deep, an assumption that has no foundation in morals or in law. They have sprung from the same family tree of obscurity as we have. Their history is as rude in its primitiveness as ours. Their ancestors were running wild in living in trees of branches like monkeys as ours. They made human sacrifices, ate the flesh of their own dead and wild meat from beasts for centuries, even as they have accused us of doing. Their cannibalism is more prolonged than ours. When we were embracing the banks of the Nile They were still drinking blood out of the skulls of their conquered dead. After our civilization had reached the noonday of progress, they were still living in holes with bats, rats, and other insects and animals. After we had already unfathomed the mystery of the stars and reduced the heavenly constellations to minute and regular calculus, there were still backwoodsmen living in ignorance and in blatant darkness. The world is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. Then why should we be ashamed of ourselves? Their modern improvement to be reflected and resurrected by our generation and our posterity. Why should we be discouraged if somebody laughs at us today? Who's to tell what tomorrow will bring forth? Did they not laugh at Christ, Moses, Muhammad? Was there not a Carthage, Greece, and Rome? So we see and have changes every day. So pray, work, be steadfast, and be not dismayed. Because of the Jew is held together by his religion, the white race is by the assumption and the unwritten law of superiority, the Mongolian by the precious tie of blood, likewise the black man must unite in one grand racial hierarchy. Our union must know no clime, no nationality, but let us all hold together in every country, in every clime, making a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Let no voice but your own speak to you from the depths. Let no influence but your own rouse you in time of peace and time of war. Hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you. Your allegiance shall be to your God, your race, your country. Remember that the Jew in his political and economic origins always first the Jew. The white man is first a white man under all circumstances, so you can do no less. Be black, buy black, think black, and all else will take care of itself. Let no one inoculate you with evil doctrines to suit his own convenience. Charity begins at home. So first to thyself be true, and thou canst not then depart of no man. Because God and nature first made us what we are. And out of our own creative genius we make ourselves what we want to be. Follow always that great law. Let God and the sky be our limit and eternity our measurement. There is no height to which you cannot climb without the active intelligence of your own mind. Mind creates, and as much as we desire in nature, we can have through the creation of our own minds. And today, being scientifically the weaker race, you shall treat others only as they treat you. But in your homes and everywhere possible, you must teach the higher development of science to your children. And make sure that we have a race of scientists par excellence. For in religion and science lies our only hope to withstand the evil designs of modern materialism. Never forget your God. Remember that we live, work, and play for a binding racial hierarchy, whose only natural, spiritual, and political limits shall be God and Africa at home and abroad. With God's dearest blessings, I leave you for a while. One love. Brothers and sisters.
It's crazy that you can't hear no speeches by the prophet or whatever. Really? Nothing? The wars never kept it? Nothing? Nah. Somebody has something hiding somewhere. If we got 2 or 3 of Garvey, then there has to be a little 10-second snippet or something. Video or something. There has to be something. There has to be something. Right? Yeah. Teach the higher sciences of development to your children. Teach them that. Yeah, he went in. When he said black and all that stuff, still went in. Because we already know. You already know. Ignorance is bliss. Until you get 5 years for a mail fraud with $3. And then you realize how serious it is. And you start writing all these people from prison, telling them about they better get a nationality. Forget all that stuff I said about we don't really know no nationality and all that, and black this and black that. Forget all that. I paved the way for you people. Gave you everything. Gave everything. Gave it all. Didn't hold back. Gave it all for them to do what they're supposed to do. And what happened? As usual. Where's this thing at? One more thing here that I wanted to read, just to show you this idea of him being a forerunner and paving the way. Now, why would they do this, right? Well, think about this. Why would they do this? Page 135. Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. Drafted and adopted at convention held in New York, 1920, over with Marcus Garvey's presiding as chairman, and at which he was elected Provisional President of Africa. Preamble. Remember, he's over here. President of Africa. But remember, he's over here. Be it resolved that the Negro people of the world, through their chosen representatives in convention assembled in Liberty Hall in the city of New York, in the United States of America, from August 1st to August 31st, in the year of our Lord 1920, protest against the wrongs and injustices they are suffering at the hands of the white brethren, and state that they deem their fair and just rights, as well as the treatment to propose to demand of all men in the future. We complain, 1. That nowhere in the world, with few exceptions, are black men accorded equal treatment with the white man, although in the same situation and circumstances, but on the contrary, are discriminated against and denied the common rights due to human beings for no other reason than their race and color. We are not willingly accepted as guests in the public hotels and inns of the world for no other reason than our race and color. Right? But then when we go talk to Jose Pimenta Bay, and he'll tell you about his Uncle Johnny, and there will be Moors, and they'll be dressing up as Moors and going to inns and hotels and gas stations and whatever else. Don't have to drink from the black fountain and all that stuff because they weren't in the jurisdiction. They didn't agree to the color game, so they were excluded from it. But again, this is to show you paving the way. So all we have to do is just replace black men with Moorish Americans. And then we read that and put Moorish Americans there and see if he's not right in point. And then with that the Negro people of the world, just take out the Negro, take out the Negro, then put more there. Two, in certain parts of the United States of America, our race is denied the right of public trial according to other races when accused of crime, but are lynched and burned by mobs, and such brutal and inhuman treatment is even practiced upon our women. That's once again in the first section, article of the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. Play to yourself by saying black men. So that justifies the denial of the right of public trial when accused of a crime. Being black justifies getting lynched, burned by mobs, and such brutal and inhumane treatment is even being practiced on our women. Because they're playing black. Remember, he sent the letter from prison after all this. Remember, this is 1920. So this is before him getting his senses back. I'm telling these people that you better go get nationality. That was the key word. All you gotta do is come out, hey, who out here is talking about nationality? Yeah, there's some dudes with a red hat down there. I heard them saying something. You gotta go talk to them. Anybody who's Garvey. And then he found out about your nationality so you can be restored to your true self. You can tear up this Declaration of Rights of Negro people and tell these people enforce the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous people, since way was already paved for you with Marcus Garvey in 1920s telling you about Declaration of Rights of Negroes. How does he talk about Declaration of Rights of Negroes when that stuff came after him? And he's 3. That European nations have parceled out among themselves and taken possession of nearly all of the continent of Africa, and the natives are compelled to surrender their lands to aliens and are treated in most instances like slaves. And then you go through and you just make the switches, right? Make the switches, and you'll see how on point. Because just little words, the status words. Once you just deal with the status words, right there you did good. Said European nations there, but then killed it when you said aliens and stuff like that. You're talking about aliens. The European nations. Stick to the stuff. 4. In the southern portion of the United States of America, although citizens under the federal Constitution, and in some states almost equal to the whites in population, are qualified landowners and taxpayers, we are nevertheless denied all voice in making and administration of laws, and are taxed without representation by the state governments, and at the same time compelled to do the military service in defense of the country. Hold on a second. So they were against. So also you and I was against military service in defense of a country that's supposed to be okay. And then also, what did they know about tax without representation in the 1920s? Oh, Christian black codes. Because once you classify as Negro, you don't have rights. You're a Negro Association? All right, tax you all day, every day, if you want to be Negro. Five, on the public conveyances and common carriers in the southern portion of the United States, we are Jim Crow. Hold on a second. On the public conveyances? I didn't know about conveyances. I thought that was sovereign citizen talk and stuff like that. I thought it was driving and cars and stuff like that. Why are you talking about conveyances? Could it be that maybe it was just a particular mindset at a certain time? Everybody was on natural law. And all your people who you called your whoever's have been playing you, because even Marcus Garvey knew about conveyances, and it's wrong to be taxed without representation. And the people who are taxing us don't represent us. So Garvey was against that. How come everybody's not down with trying to stop the taxes now? Only Moors are making some type of fight with regard to being taxed. Right? But you go read the stuff. Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. We give thanks and honors and supreme thanks and honors for sending us a prophet. We give thanks to all the Moors everywhere. Peace and love to all the Moors everywhere. Everywhere. Actually, let me see if this works. Let's see if this works. You might get a little treat, Moors. You might get a treat right now. Oh, no, it's not gonna work. Don't worry, I got something for you, Moors. Should be up soon. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Peace and love. Don't forget to put up something for Marcus Garvey today. Or pour out something, or light a candle, or incense, or something like that. You know, go outside and feel that breeze and know that that's him telling you thank you. Islam to all the Moors. Don't forget tomorrow, Canaanland Moors, we got our class at the Bluffs tomorrow. So we're down at the Bluffs tomorrow. And if we're looking at it being reasonable out there, but if it gets too crazy with the weather, there's always 5 Principles brunch tomorrow, 11 to 2. So if you look outside tomorrow and you see lightning and all that stuff, then look and see what happens. If it doesn't look too good, then enjoy the brunch. If not, we'll see you at the Bluffs tomorrow, 12 o'clock, for our second outdoor class session. And next week, 25th, special Skype presentation. Special Skype presentation presented by MSTA, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Divine National Movement of the World, Chairman, Brother Tesba Bey. We'll get more details on you know, what's going down with regard to why we're having this special Skype presentation at the temple next week, 2530 Eglinton Avenue West, 1 p.m., which is class time. But again, that's going to be next Sunday, 25th of August. Once again, honors to the Forerunner, Marcus Garvey. We give thanks for you. We appreciate everything that you did in paving the way for us to have the correct mindset so we can embrace our prophet. We give much thanks to you. Islam to all the Moors. Peace and love. Islam.